Just listen to me. For the next 3 days, I need you to change the way you talk to yourself. Because let's be real, sometimes the loudest enemy isn't the devil, it's the voice inside your own head. That voice that tells you you're not enough. That voice that reminds you of every failure, every mistake, every missed opportunity. That voice that makes you shrink when you were born to stand tall. But we are shutting that voice down today. For the next 3 days, I need you to talk to yourself like you are already victorious, like you are already walking in everything God promised you. Because let me tell you, God's word over your life is still yes and amen. But the way you talk to yourself determines whether you step into it or stay stuck outside the gate. So here's what you say to yourself for the next 3 days. Day 1, I am not my past. I am God's masterpiece. Baby, I don't care what you've been through, what you did, or what they said about you. God knew your mistakes when he called you. He knew your insecurities when he chose you. And still, he called you his masterpiece. So today you speak life over yourself. Stand in the mirror and say, I am chosen. I am worthy. I am becoming everything God designed me to be. Day 2, my pain has a purpose and I will not waste it. Sis, that heartbreak, that betrayal, that season where you cried yourself to sleep, it wasn't wasted. God doesn't do random. He does redemption. That thing that tried to break you is about to bless you. That test is about to be your testimony. So today, instead of asking, why me, start declaring, God, I trust you. Even in this, I trust you. Day 3, I am stepping into everything God has for me. No more fear, no more doubt, no more talking yourself out of the very thing God is calling you into. You've been playing it safe, but safe isn't your portion. God didn't call you to be comfortable. He called you to be great. So today I need you to say, I will not shrink. I will not settle. I will not stay where God has called me from. And hear me when I say this. If you talk to yourself like this for 3 days, something will shift, because your words are not just words, they are seeds. And what you plant in your spirit, you will see in your life. So speak life. Speak faith power, because sis, the world is waiting for you to walk in everything God has already placed inside of you. Now go ahead and talk to yourself like you know who you are. Your past does not define you. God calls you his masterpiece. Too often we walk through life carrying the weight of who we used to be. The mistakes we made, the wrong turns we took, the moments we wish we could erase. It plays on repeat in our minds, reminding us of the times we fell short, the people we disappointed, the prayers we didn't pray, and the times we should have known better, but didn't. The enemy loves to keep us trapped in shame, whispering that we are not worthy of a fresh start, that we are too broken, too far gone, too flawed to be used by God. But that is a lie straight from the pit of hell. God does not consult your past to determine your future. When he formed you, he already knew every mistake you would make. He saw the moments you would stumble, the times you would let fear win, the places where you would fail to trust him fully. And still, he called you his masterpiece. A masterpiece is not something thrown together. It is not random, nor is it accidental. A masterpiece is intentional. It is crafted with care, shaped with skill, designed with a vision in mind. That means you are not a mistake. You are not a random collection of experiences, traumas, and regrets. You are a divine creation made by the hands of a God who does not make errors. If you could only see yourself the way God sees you, you would stop beating yourself up for what happened yesterday. You would stop defining yourself by the moments when you fell short. You would stop replaying your failures as if they have more power than your future. The truth is, you are more than your worst moment. You are more than your biggest regret. You are more than the thing they keep bringing up when they talk about you. You are God's child, fearfully and wonderfully made, knit together with purpose in your very being. The enemy wants you to believe that because you made mistakes, you are disqualified. But let me tell you something. God has a track record of using people with messy pasts for his greatest works. Look at Moses. He had a history of murder, but God still called him to lead a nation. Look at David. He had failures that could have disqualified him, but God still called him a man after his own heart. Look at Paul. He persecuted Christians, but God still used him to spread the gospel. If God didn't disqualify them, why do you think he would disqualify you? One of the biggest tricks of the enemy is to make you believe that your past is bigger than God's grace. But grace is not just for the moments when you get it right, it is for the moments when you get it wrong. Grace is for the times you didn't listen, the times you took the wrong path, the times you ignored the warning signs and found yourself in a mess you didn't think you could get out of. And yet here you are, still standing, still breathing, still with purpose on your life. That is proof that God has not changed his mind about you. What would happen if you stopped allowing your past to write your story and let God do it instead? What would happen if you believed, truly believed, that you are still worthy of love, still worthy of purpose, still worthy of a future filled with hope? The enemy would lose his grip on your mind. Fear would stop holding you hostage. Guilt and shame would no longer be the voices that dictate your decisions. You would walk with confidence, knowing that no matter what happened before, you are still God's masterpiece. A masterpiece is never defined by the strokes that were corrected or the lines that were redrawn. It is defined by the vision of the artist, and the artist who created you already called you good. He already called you chosen. He already called you redeemed. You do not have to fix yourself before you come to God. He takes you as you are and transforms you into who he always intended you to be. Maybe they still see your past when they look at you. Maybe they still define you by who you were back then, but that's their problem, not yours. You are not living for their approval. You are living for God's purpose. If he has already forgiven you, why are you still punishing yourself? If he has already called you new, why are you still carrying the old? It is time to walk in the truth of who you really are. Not broken, but healed. Not disqualified, but chosen. Not forgotten, but deeply loved. Your past may be part of your story, but it is not the end of it. You are God's masterpiece, and nothing, no mistake, no failure, no regret can ever change that pain is something we all try to avoid. Nobody wakes up hoping for hardship, heartbreak, or disappointment. We want the easy road, the smooth path, the kind of life where everything falls into place without struggle. But if we're honest, the most powerful moments in our lives, the times when we grew the most, weren't the times of comfort, they were the times of pain. Pain has a way of shaping us, of revealing things about ourselves that we never would have seen otherwise. It brings things to the surface, things we didn't even know were inside us. Pain has a way of exposing our weaknesses, our fears, our doubts, and even our hidden strengths. So often when we go through painful seasons, we ask, why me? We question God, wondering why he would allow us to experience suffering. But what if we shifted that question? Instead of asking, why me? What if we ask, God, what are you trying to teach me? What are you trying to show me through this? Because one thing is certain, God never wastes pain. Every tear you cried, every moment you felt broken, every situation that left you wondering if you would ever recover, God was using it. You may not have seen it then, but he was working. You may not have understood it in the moment, but he was moving. When we are in pain, we want immediate relief. We want to escape, to run, to numb it however we can. But what if the pain isn't meant to destroy you? What if it's meant to birth something inside you? When a woman is in labor, the pain intensifies as the baby is getting ready to enter the world. The closer she gets to delivery, the stronger the pain becomes. But no mother stops in the middle of labor and says, "This hurts too much, I quit." No. She pushes through the pain because she knows something beautiful is on the other side of it. That's what God is doing with you. You are in the middle of something that feels unbearable, but what if you're just in labor? What if the pain you're experiencing is not the end, but the beginning? What if God is stretching you, preparing you, making room inside of you for the next level of your destiny? Sometimes we pray for growth, but resist the process that produces it. We want the promise, but we want the blessing, but we don't want the breaking that comes before it. But hear me, there is no breakthrough without breaking. There is no testimony without a test. Think about the most powerful people you admire, the ones who inspire you, the ones whose stories make you believe that anything is possible. Every single one of them has been through something. Every single one of them has faced pain, setbacks, disappointments, betrayals, losses. But what sets them apart is that they didn't let their pain define them. They let it refine them. They took what was meant to break them and used it to build something greater. You may not see it now, but this pain is producing something in you. It is strengthening you, shaping you, making you into someone you never thought you could be. You are learning resilience. You are learning endurance. You are learning how to trust God even when you don't understand. Because faith is not about trusting God when things are easy. Faith is about trusting him when things don't make sense. It's about believing that even in the midst of suffering, he is still working all things together for your good. Some of the pain you've experienced wasn't even about you. It was about the people you're called to help. There are people connected to your healing, people who need your testimony. People who are waiting for someone like you to show them that survival is possible. When you come out of this, you're going to have wisdom that only experience could teach you. You're going to be able to look someone in the eyes and say, "I know what it's like to feel like you're not going to make it. I know what it's like to cry yourself to sleep. I know what it's like to wonder if God even hears you. But I also know what it's like to come out on the other side. I know what it's like to see God restore, redeem, and rebuild." You are not being punished. You are being positioned. Positioned for purpose. Positioned for a new level. Positioned for a version of yourself that you never would have accessed without this process. God is stretching you because there is more in you than you realize. The oil that comes from your life will not come without a crushing. But when it is all said and done, you will emerge stronger, wiser, more powerful than you ever imagined. So don't waste this pain. Don't let it make you bitter when it has the power to make you better. Don't let it harden your heart when it has the potential to deepen your faith. Don't let it convince you that God has forgotten you when in reality, he is closer than ever. He is right there in the midst of it, walking with you through the fire, not letting it consume you, but using it to refine you. The enemy thought this would break you, but he underestimated the God inside of you. What was meant to take you out is going to take you higher. What was meant to destroy you is going to be the very thing that builds you, because your pain has a purpose and God never wastes what he intends to use. Fear has a way of whispering to us in the quiet moments, making us second guess everything we thought we were capable of. Doubt creeps in like a slow fog, clouding the vision we once had for ourselves. And before we know it, we start shrinking. We start playing small. We convince ourselves that the dreams we once had were too big, that the calling we felt so strongly must have been for someone else, someone braver, someone stronger, someone with a better past or a cleaner record. But that is not the truth. The truth is that God does not put a dream in your heart that he has not already equipped you to walk in. He does not place a calling on your life without giving you the grace to fulfill it. The problem is that we allow fear and doubt to talk us out of what God has already said is ours. We allow the voices of insecurity to be louder than the voice of God. We replay every failure, every rejection, every time we felt unworthy, and we start believing that we are not enough. But let me tell you, God has already gone before you. He has already made the way. He has already put everything you need inside of you. You are not waiting for some future version of yourself to be worthy of walking in your purpose. You are already worthy. You are already called. You are already chosen. But you have to step into it. Stepping into everything God has for you means refusing to let fear be the driver of your decisions. It means silencing the voice that tells you that you're not good enough. It means deciding that even if you feel unqualified, even if you don't have all the answers, even if you still have wounds that are healing, you are still going to move forward. Because the truth is, you are never going to feel fully ready. There will always be a reason to wait, always an excuse to stay where it's comfortable. Always a voice telling you to sit down when you were meant to stand up. But God is calling you out of that place. He is calling you into something greater. Think about all the people in the Bible who had to step before they saw the miracle. Peter had to step out of the boat before he could walk on water. The Israelites had to step into the Jordan River before it parted. The woman with the issue of blood had to press through the crowd before she could touch Jesus' garment and be healed. If they had waited until they felt confident, until it made sense, until they had all the details figured out, they would have never seen the breakthrough. And the same goes for you. Your miracle is in your movement. Your breakthrough is in your obedience. Your next level is on the other side of your yes. You cannot afford to let fear keep you in the same place another year. You cannot afford to let doubt rob you of what God has for you. Too much is at stake. There are people connected to your obedience, people waiting on you to walk fully in your calling, your voice, your story, your purpose. It's not just for you. It's for the ones who need to see that it's possible. It's for the ones who need to be reminded that God still moves, that he still restores, that he still makes a way out of no way. You stepping into your purpose is going to give someone else permission to step into theirs. So what if you're scared? Do it scared. So what if you don't feel ready? Do it anyway. So what if you're not the most experienced, the most polished, the most put together? God doesn't need your perfection. He just needs your yes. He will take your yes and turn it into something you never could have imagined. He will take your obedience and open doors you never could have unlocked on your own. But you have to be willing to move. You have to be willing to step. You have to be willing to say, God, I don't know how this is going to work, but I trust you. Doubt will try to remind you of every reason why this won't work. It will bring up every failure, every disappointment, every time things didn't go the way you thought they would. But doubt is a liar. Your past does not dictate your future. Just because something didn't work out before doesn't mean it won't work out now. Just because you've experienced setbacks doesn't mean you won't experience victories. God is doing a new thing. He is making ways in the wilderness. He is bringing rivers to dry places. But you have to have the faith to believe it. When God calls you, he already knows your weaknesses. He already knows your flaws. He already knows the things that make you feel inadequate. But he still chose you. He still placed the dream inside of you. He still positioned you for such a time as this. That means you don't have to have it all together. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be willing to trust him, willing to take the step, willing to believe that what he has spoken over your life is true. Fear and doubt will always be there, but they don't get to control your life. You are stepping into everything God has for you. You are no longer playing small. You are no longer letting insecurity make decisions for you. You are walking boldly, confidently, fully in the purpose He has set before you. And as you step, God is going to meet you there. As you move, He is going to open doors. As you trust Him, He is going to exceed your expectation. But it starts with you making the decision that you will no longer let fear win. You will no longer let doubt keep you stuck. You are stepping into everything God has already prepared for you. And nothing, no fear, no insecurity, no past mistake is going to hold you back. Your words have power. The things you say to yourself, the way you talk about your future, the way you speak over your circumstances, it all matters. Too often, we underestimate the weight of our words. We think it doesn't make a difference whether we say, I'm never going to get through this, or God is making a way for me, but it does. Because what you say is planting seeds in your life. You may not see the harvest immediately, but make no mistake, every word you speak is shaping the reality you live in. God created the entire universe with words. He spoke and light appeared. He spoke and the earth was formed. He spoke and life began. That same power that God used to create the heavens and the earth, He placed it inside of you. The ability to speak life, to declare victory, to call things into existence, that power is in your tongue. But too many of us are using that power against ourselves. We speak doubt, we speak defeat, we speak fear, and then we wonder why we feel stuck. We wonder why nothing is changing. It's because we are constantly reinforcing the very things we want to be free from. If you keep telling yourself you'll never heal, don't be surprised when healing feels impossible. If you keep saying you're not good enough, don't be shocked when you hesitate to step into your calling. If you keep declaring that you'll always struggle, that things never work out for you, that you'll always be behind, guess what? Your life will start to align with those words, not because God hasn't promised you more, not because He doesn't have a plan for you, but because you keep canceling out His promises with your own declarations. There is a reason the Bible says life and death are in the power of the tongue, because what you speak over your life determines what you experience. You can't keep speaking negativity and expect to walk in joy. You can't keep declaring defeat and expect to see victory. You have to shift your language. You have to start speaking like someone who believes that God is who He says He is. You have to start speaking like someone who knows they are chosen, called, and equipped for every battle they face. This doesn't mean ignoring reality. It doesn't mean pretending everything is perfect. It means deciding that no matter what you see in the natural, you will align your words with God's truth. Maybe right now your situation looks hopeless, but instead of saying there's no way out, you start saying God is working this together for my good. Maybe you're struggling with fear, but instead of saying I'm never going to be brave enough, you start saying God has not given me a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. Maybe you feel like you're not enough, but instead of saying I'm not qualified, you start saying, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. It's not about pretending. It's about positioning yourself in faith. It's about training your mind and spirit to believe that what God has spoken over your life is greater than any obstacle in front of you. It's about refusing to let your emotions dictate your declarations. Because let's be real, some days you won't feel strong. Some days you won't feel like things are getting better. Some days the enemy will try to convince you that you're wasting your time believing for more. But on those days, your words become your weapon. On those days when doubt is knocking at your door, you have to open your mouth and fight back. You have to say, I am more than a conqueror. You have to say, no weapon formed against me shall prosper. You have to say, God has a plan for my life and I will not be shaken. And the more you say it, the more you will start to believe it. The more you believe it, the more you will start to walk in it. Your words are not just empty sounds, they are seeds being sown into your future. If you have spent years speaking against yourself, don't be discouraged if it takes time to shift your mindset. You have to unlearn the language of defeat and train yourself to speak the language of victory. At first, it might feel unnatural. It might feel like you're just saying words with no weight, but keep speaking, keep declaring, keep planting the seeds, and soon you will start to see the fruit. You are not powerless in your situation. You are not at the mercy of your circumstances. God has given you authority, but you have to use it. The enemy wants you to stay silent. He wants you to accept whatever comes your way without speaking back. But you were never meant to live passively. You were never meant to just take what life throws at you without standing on God's promises. Open your mouth, speak life, declare favor, prophesy over your future, because what you say today is shaping the reality you will live in tomorrow. It's time to take authority over your life. Time to stop speaking defeat and start declaring victory. Time to stop letting fear and doubt hold you back and start walking boldly in the purpose God has set before you. You are not weak, you are not forgotten, and you are not disqualified. You are chosen, you are powerful, and you are equipped for every battle ahead. For the next 3 days, I challenge you to shift your language. Speak to yourself like someone who knows they are loved by God. Speak to yourself like someone who believes in their purpose. Speak to yourself like someone who is done playing small, done letting fear win, done allowing the past to dictate the future. And watch what happens. Watch how your mind starts to change. Watch how doors begin to open. Watch how the impossible starts to move in your favor. Because when you start speaking life, life starts responding. When you start declaring victory, victory starts chasing you down. When you start believing that God's promises are true for you, not just for everyone else, but for you, nothing will be able to stop you. So speak life, speak power, speak faith, and step boldly into everything that God has already prepared for you.